الله الرحمن الرحيم. Tonight is the 28th of Jumad al-Akhirah, 1436. And as I told you, expecting Rajab to be Monday. Now, as we finished the point of the Hijrah, today I want to discuss two topics that are integral to the subject matter, after which we move for further steps. The first topic is Al-Shura, and the second topic is Al-Jihad. Al-Shura, the scholars say, or almost the majority of the scholars think that there is a system in the Ummah, and instead of saying parliament or Congress or democracy, they say no. Muslims have a shura. A shura is like a system. And they say, many scholars say, Al-Shura mu'lima, and others say Al-Shura mulzima. I'm going to explain that. Firstly, is Al-Shura a system? I tried in my study from early time. I used to understand it early when I was a beginner, that Al-Shura is a system and it replaces anything of democracy or of polling system, elections, etc., etc. When I went further in my study, I found out that there is nothing of the Quran says that it is a political system. And I see that Al-Shura is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Imran, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, in Surah Al-Shura وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, in Surah Al-Baqarah, والوالدات يرضعن أولادهن حولين كاملين لمن أراد أن يتم الرضاعة وعلى المولود له رزقهن وكسوتهن بالمعروف لا تكلف نفس إلا وسعها لا تضار والدة بولدها ولا مولود له بولده وعلى الوارث مثل ذلك فإن أرادا فصالا عن تراض منهما وتشاور. If the mother divorced and they want to get separated from each other in the business of breastfeeding the child, if they are satisfied with that and they made their tashawur, nothing wrong. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا. So then the tashawur, Al-Shura, is mentioned in these three ayat. In Al-Imran, Al-Shura, and Al-Baqarah. I understand, of course, we come to the Sunnah and the role of Sunnah in this subject matter. I understand the Quran says that it is the natural life of a Muslim, the normal life of a Muslim, that whenever he wants to do something important, something considerable, he should not do it without consulting some other or others. You want to buy a house. I don't think it is wise of a person, if he's going to buy a house for 100, 200, 300, 400,000, without consultation. Ask people. Ask people who are in business. Ask people who know real estate. Ask people. That is shura. When you want to get married, I don't know a wise person who would jump to a certain woman and say, I want to marry you, without making some consultation. I know that for marriage we spend weeks or months or years looking for who I am going to choose for my wife. And the woman's side again will consider and think about the man who asked for the hand of the woman. That is shura. Even if you want to buy, like, say, you found a good jacket, maybe you ask people, your friends, what do you think of this store? What do you think of this price? Everything of that is shura. Then we could say that Al-Shura is an Islamic phenomenon. It means that Muslims are known because they are brothers, they socialize with one another, they give advice to one another. Ad-din al-nasiha, you give good advice to your brother. Then consequently, we are running everything under the style of Al-Shura. Then Al-Shura is not something exclusive in political aspect. It is inclusive in any sort of activity, any sort of important and significant issue we deal with. That is point number one. Point number two, as the word Al-Shura is derived from choosing and examining. Like when you say shurtul asala, usually, like I tell you about myself, when I want to buy olive oil, I don't go to the market and see any container that is written virgin olive oil. I don't buy that. I want to know the source. Who is making this olive oil? And I always buy the oil from the owner of the olive trees and who presses, and I trust him. Then that is shura. Shurtu zayt, which means I went to the source and I know how they press it in a cool way, not in those machines that make difference in taste and in goodness. The same thing when it comes to honey. I should know, is the honey prepared in a cool way or in heat? Now you see, the most expensive honey, you know what country produces the most where?
Yemen.
Huh?
Yemen.
Yemen. It is the worst. It is so expensive.
New Zealand.
No, I didn't say what country has good. Listen, I'm talking the honey of Hadramaut or Yemen. It is dark, and they sell it for 200, 300 a pound. And when you buy it, you think you are going to be created from the beginning. You see. Anyhow, they prepare, they make the honey, and they use heat. Heat destroys the benefits of the honey. And they are not clean in their business. Anyhow, this is not my topic, but I just say, when you say shurtul asala, like you go to the farm, you know the farm, you know the people of the farm, and you were trying your best to find the good place of bees and honey. Like this honey is of certain trees, this honey of certain citrus, this honey of certain flowers, and so forth. That is shara yashuru. You see, there is something of examination and research. So then Al-Shura is derived from what? From making your research in order to choose whatever you are going to choose. We understand that Al-Shura is in the Quran, in the Quran mentioned in custody and child support and anything deals with infants, Shura. Allah says to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Imam and the leader, shawirhum, which means let them give you their opinion if it is in anything important. Because the word al-amr, it is. You once said to me, what's your opinion to buy you a coffee in a Starbucks or in 7-Eleven or in McDonald's? I know you are making some shura, but this issue is not worth of, like I want to gather you, what for? I want to go to Washington. What should I do? Take a taxi or a bus or a metro? And you call this subject matter as shura. I'm not making a joke with you, but I say this is not an issue of gathering people and say, hey, but when you say somebody asks for the hand of my daughter and you bring some people, yes, that is worth. Or you want to buy a house and you gather some people, that's worth. So al-amr, listen, al-amr means anything significant, not something very minor. Okay. Oh, I want to throw this napkin. What do you propose to me? How would I throw it? Where would I throw it? It's a joke. You need not ask about that. You see? Al-Amr, this is why Quraysh, the Mushrikeen, when the Prophet ﷺ was showing progress in his da'wah, you remember what they say? Amira Amru ibn Abi Kabshata. Amira Amru ibn Abi Kabshata. What means? عظم شأن النبي ibn Abi Kabsha. He used to be called that name as a family or etc. Ibn Abi Kabsha. So they said Amira Amr ibn Abi Kabshata. Amira, it means becomes great. Al-Amr, when Allah says وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, it means consult them in anything important. Number 3. Now, is there a difference between an opinion of one person and another opinion for 2 or 3 or 4? The other 1, 2, 3 is versus to the one of one person. I remember when I was in 1950, I was sitting for the exam of elementary school, 6 years. After 6 years, we have a general exam for the whole country. One of the statements was, رأي الجماعة خير من رأي الفرد. The opinion of a group or a congregation is better than an individual's opinion. Today I was thinking of this statement to understand that it is wrong. I used to admire it when I was a child. It is wrong. It is wrong, absolutely. It is a demagogue statement. Because correction or righteousness has nothing to do with how many. The majority of people, ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون لا يفقهون لا يؤمنون وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. The Quran in many ayahs said that the majority are the worst and the minority are of the best. Am I right? You read Quran. And I remember an American psychologist, we studied his book as a textbook. It is called Practical Psychology. In his book, he wrote that at the end of the Second World War, he said, democracy in our country, in the United States, is the power of the ignorant majority over the knowledgeable minority. Now look at the Congress and look at the professors of sociology or of politics or of economy or those who make amendments for laws, and they are Congress or senators, then are not as knowledgeable as those academic people or scholars or scientists, but those Congress people and senates are making everything for capital. There are few people behind the curtain. They plan for them what to make of amendment, what to do, what to say, what to vote for, what to vote against. This is how it is. In my study of Sharia, I am studying, I'm a student. I find out in many instances an opinion of one scholar is the only opinion I see is correct. And when they say Al-Jumhur, which means the majority are mistaken. If anyone wants an example, I can give you examples.
Jumhur and Al-Ijma' is the same, right?
No, Al-Ijma' is more than Al-Jumhur. But there is no Ijma' in reality. This is another joke. Huh? Majority. Like when they say, for example, say 3 imams or say something, and one imam says the other, then they will say Al-Jumhur for the 3. Or they look at those who are talking about as Al-Jumhur, they could be hundreds of people. You read some names of them, and the minority, maybe you see very few names of them. Anyhow, all these terms are fake. I'm not for any, but I just want to tell you, I was in my study in 1953. 1953. I was 16 years old. Abdul Karim Zaidan, the author of Al-Mufassal fi Ahkam al-Mar'a, which is 11 volumes. He was giving a lecture in 1953. And he said, I wonder how the 4 Imams, Abu Hanifa, Malik, Al-Shafi'i, and Ahmad, are committed to the bid'i talaq. He says, I wonder how they go that way. But I don't feel I can disagree with them. Okay. I was surprised at that moment. How come? And that was the first year I was sitting to study hadith with the sheikh. I was surprised. And I started making a study of the talaq with the sheikh of my sheikh. There are 2 sheikhs I studied with. And the other sheikh is having Al-Bukhari through a chain of narrators from his time to the Prophet ﷺ. And I went to him for a question of talaq. And the guy who is asking for the question has a big problem. And he is in need of help. His name is Absattar. The sheikh said to me, what did you answer him? Anyhow, and he explained to me the talaq al-Sunni. And he advised me to read some books, including which there is a book, Nizam al-Talaq fi al-Islam, the arrangement of talaq in Islam, written by the greatest scholars of the 20th century, Ahmad Muhammad Shakir of Egypt. And he referred me to other researches. Then I found out that when people come to the Mufti of Iraq, and they are followers of one of the schools, especially the Hanafi, like somebody says to his wife, joking, you are divorced 3 times. Or you are divorced. He goes to Sheikh, says you cannot get back to your wife unless she gets married to another man. If he goes to 4 schools, the same answer. You see, he was joking. Or He didn't have intention to be serious in pronouncing talaq. Again, the same. She should. And I remember something happened when my father, somebody came to his house asking, said, Sheikh, he told him, my father was following Shafi'i then. He said to him, talaq is valid and she cannot get back to you without marrying another man. I was sitting. My father went out to make wudu. I said to him, Ammi, I was like 16, 17. Ammi, your wife is your wife. Don't listen to that. Go back to her and I am responsible. The man was very rash. He said, Abu Muhammad, he calls my father. Abu Muhammad, your son says you are mistaken. He says that. And it was an issue between me and my father. That is an example. All the schools until 1930s, Ahmed Shakir raised this issue in Egypt, and he tried to make some modifications in the law of talaq. And as I told you, Abdul Karim Zaidan, I explained the statement of him. Okay, that is one issue. The other issue, the relevant understanding of Muslims. I give you an example. Every Christian, every Jew, every Hindu, every Buddhist is kafir. And we should fight, combat against anyone who is not a Muslim. Worse than that, I heard some people teach other people, the Christian or the Jew or any of those, anything of him halal for the Muslim. Those extremists you hear in Iraq or in Syria or wherever, these are the fruits of that type of understanding or that type of study. I read the Quran from Surah Al-Nas to Al-Baqarah or Al-Baqarah to Surah Al-Nas. I understand the Quran says you cannot force anyone to become a Muslim. The Quran wants people to be free in whatever they have of conviction. And consequently, I don't force my kid to make salah. Consequently, I don't force my daughter to cover her head. Because I believe that you cannot force anybody for practicing anything of Islam. And all the ayat tells me that when we combat, when we have fight with anybody, it is because he is offensive. He is passing his limits. He wants to kill, he wants to destroy, he wants to do anything like now. What is going on in Syria, what is going in Libya, what is going in Egypt, that is offense. A Muslim should, like now, the American law. The American law doesn't allow anybody to be a trespasser or to be out of law. And if you ask any American, what is the solution for the one who wants to break into my store? If you want to defend your right of having the store, of course you are going to use a gun. No one will say this is a terrorist. No one could say to the one who is protecting the store is a terrorist. If somebody wants to rape a woman and somebody killed the rapist, no one could say it. So then, what we see in the American law in defending people, in defending the country, in defending the freedom of people, exactly is what is understood in the law of Islam. We don't accept, even, of course, the majority of scholars, the Muslims, they depend on a hadith, أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله, etc., etc. Read Ibn Hajar, who is the best commentary of Al-Bukhari, in the first volume, in Kitab al-Iman. Read what he wrote about this hadith, okay? He said about this hadith, it is odd. It is odd. Odd means it doesn't match with the norm of narrations of authenticity. To tell you that I made my homework. So all the ayat when says Al-Kafir, I always explain it. The one who learned about Islam, he is convinced of Islam, he says Islam is the only righteous religion, but they deny it, but وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ, as the Quran says in Surah An-Naml. They have yaqeen in their feelings. Don't you read the Quran? وَنَفْسِ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. You have something insinuated or like al-ilham, inspiration. You are inspired to feel what is good, what's bad. Look at animals. Animals don't do anything wrong. Why? Because of ilham. Because the inspiration Allah provides the creature with. Allah says about the bees, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. The way Allah says to Musa, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى Musa أَنْ أَرْضَعِيهِ. You see? Then it is very important to know that opinion cannot depend on how many, cannot depend on votes. What is righteous could be the opinion of one person. And this is how Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was the only person who is satisfied to send troops to fight against those who are outlawers. And Umar was arguing a lot with Abu Bakr to let him change his mind. But no way. Then Umar, after some time arguing with Abu Bakr, he said, ما هو إلا علمت أن الله قد شرح صدر أبي بكر للقتال فعلمت أنه الحق. After this long argument, I felt that Allah has already expanded the chest of Abu Bakr to go for combating. Then I realized that is the righteousness, that is the truth. علمت أنه الحق. So then, as we are discussing Al-Shura, we should understand that it is not how many. It is what is the advocacy for that certain opinion. What is the advocacy? Where is the Quran? Where is the Hadith for that? But always, when we start research for the proof, we go to Kitabillah. Then we go to the Hadith, and so forth. I'm going to stop at this point to give you time for your question. I think it is interesting, the topic, or not?
Very interesting.
Huh?
Very interesting.
Yeah, inshallah it is very important, yes.
how ينتقد بحديث لا خاب من استشار ولا ندم من استخار.
لا أحفظه صحيحا.
والصلاة الاستخارة.
صلاة الاستخارة رواها البخاري. It is narrated by Imam al-Bukhari. It is one channel. It is narrated by one of the narrators, and Al-Imam Ahmad said the hadith is weak because this narrator, I used to memorize his name. This narrator, he is the only one who narrated the hadith, and the narrator is weak and the hadith is weak. If you read Nail al-Awtar, you will find out that the hadith is consequently is da'if, is not authentic.
Isn't it in Bukhari?
It is in Al-Bukhari, yes.
Some scholars, they classify the type of hadith into three, as we learned. Like
صحيح وضعيف وحسن.
نعم.
صحيح وحسن وضعيف.
لا، التوحيد، الألوهية والربوبية والأسماء والصفات. And you also taught us this classification.
Yes.
But there are others who add like التوحيد الحاكمية أو التحكيمية. Is acceptable, or what does it mean?
My sheikh didn't teach me that way. The way I'm taught is that first you should know Allah as a Rabb. This is why Jibreel, when he came to the Prophet ﷺ, the first thing he said, اقرأ باسم ربك, not Bismillah. And you silently, you read أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن. You didn't say بسم ربك الذي خلق. Why? Because Everyone knows Al-Rabb. And it is easy to go to know Allah through knowing Al-Rabb. Then Al-Rabb, there is no Rabb other than Allah. Rabbi Allah. No one else. That's Tawheed al-Rabb. Then if you understood Tawheed al-Rabb, then you will understand Tawheed al-Ilah, Allah. And Tawheed of Allah is al-Hub wal-Khawf wal-Ibadah. Then al-Asma' ولله الأسماء الحسنى فادعوه بها.
Yeah, but you were saying today also التشريع فقط لله, يعني saying something halal or haram is only for Allah.
What I learned, yes.
So does that mean the same like توحيد الحاكم التحكيم فقط لله?
إن الحكم إلا لله. Allah says إن الحكم إلا لله وهو أحكم الحاكمين.
Yeah, that's why these scholars they say the four type of hadith التوحيد الحاكمية.
Did I say they are wrong?
No. I'm asking you.
Yeah, it is a style, brother, an approach, a methodology.
Okay.
I didn't object it.
And they say لا مشاحة في الاصطلاح.
لا مشاحة. It means it is not arguable when it comes to terms.
Last time I asked you the question and you explained it to me, but the follow-up on the question is, how's the relationship between the father and the son? Some people go to the father and says, whatever your parents say, you have to follow, except ma'asiyatullah. I mean, everything else.
No, this is incorrect. There is obedience and there is nasiha. Obedience when you have a command. We deal with nasiha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about وصينا الإنسان بوالديه. وصينا الإنسان بوالديه. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says يوصيكم الله في أولادكم للذكر مثل حظ. He doesn't say يأمركم. You see the difference? Which means يوصيكم, it means take care. Be just, be fair in doing this and doing that. We should be kind to our kids because the kids understand your features. Why I intimidate my child? Why I make him humiliated or always free or always on toes because he is afraid of me as a father? You could execute everything in a joke, in a smile, in sense of humor.
Question is further was about even adults. A father could tell his son, don't buy this house, and he has not.
No, that's not my business.
Your wife,
as your son mature, he's independent. No, a father has no right for the parent to say do's or don'ts. Certainly. Okay, inshallah, we'll continue and this topic, then the other topic, and then we'll go on with the subject matters of Seerah.